he says in the year 2000. We're looking from the back of Norihaga's factory Yamaha at one of the men he's racing against who just beat him in qualifying. Wataru Yoshikawa riding a Yamaha. He's the joint leader of the 1999 All Japan Superbike Championship. He's joint leader with Keiichi Kitagawa on a factory Suzuki. He's also qualified on the second row. And he's going to be another danger man, the man who won the second race here at Sugo, the first race here at Sugo last year. I'm Jack Bernicle. Alongside me I've got Steve Parrish. We have a temperature of 22 degrees centigrade here in Japan, a track temperature of 34. And that man Troy Corser, he's set super pole once again. That's 12 super poles that he's set during the course of these 2 years we've had it. And he is the 1999 champion by 2 points in front of Carl Fogarty for Super Pole's trophy of 1999. Fogarty just behind him, riding number one, on first man on the second row of the grid. Troy Corser has alongside him Shinya Takeshi's Kawasaki, Akira Ryo Suzuki and Akira Yanagawa. Wait for those lights to turn green and we'll see who gets the jump. It's going to be very important here who gets away first. It's an awkward track to pass on. The first turn, 180-degree right-hander, could spread them out. Those lights, watch them. It's go! And the man who makes the break is Takeshi, the 32-year-old veteran on the Kawasaki, comes through in the lead ahead of Akira Yanagawa, but that might be Carl Fogarty who's pulled the calls on and come round from the second row, and he's into second place. He was yawning and stretching on the grid, jet-lagged, not looking like he was there to do the job. And look at Killy! Frankie Killy's made a tremendous start from the third row of the grid as well. It's all happening here at Sugo. The man at the front, Shinyo Takeshi, the man who's retiring at the end of this year. What a way to go out to make the whole shot in the World Superbike Championship race here at Sugo. He's going to leave Kawasaki, become a test rider with Honda, and he's broken off at the front, broken away at the front of the race as they go heaving off down the back straight out of Rainbow Corner. Look at this. Fogarty goes to the front at the end of the straight, 170 miles per hour. There's a puff of spot there. Someone's broken.
Is a Kawasaki broken, and was that Takeshi that's
it might have been Takeshi. That could have been the briefest.
It was the shortest lead of a race he's likely to have. His glasses must have steamed up. We saw him wearing glasses on the start line. That is bad luck for him, and no wonder he's switching to Honda.
The briefest moment of glory anyone's ever had, Steve, and what a way to go out. Can you imagine that? He'd set almost taken pole position, second on the grid, and he's out of it.
That was such bad luck. Obviously an engine problem there. Smoke, it seems, from the exhaust pipe of that bike. Fortunately, he didn't get on the circuit, but Fogarty leads this race down. What a lead he has also out of here. Look at that. Tremendous now from Carl Fogarty, who started on the second row of the grid. Troy Corser, Mr. Super Pole. He's got 5 Super Poles this year, and he wins the Super Pole award. Down in 4th place. He got swallowed up at the start. Wasn't a particularly good start. So there we have it. Fogarty from Yanagawa, from Haga, from Troy Corser in 4th spot. I've put my money on Fogarty this weekend. He has nothing to gain, nothing really to lose. He's world champion. He's got that number 1 plate, and he wants to go out there and win this final round. I'm quite sure of that. He goes very, very well here at Sugo. Tremendous amount of competition here from the local riders, but at the moment, number 1 Fogarty leads quite comfortably. Corser now, his main threat is going to be Colin Edwards. Where is Edwards? We look back down to see where Colin Edwards is, and I think he's down in about 15th place? No, not
8th place.
8th place.
8th place, is it? Yeah, 8th place for Colin Edwards at the moment. We're on board with Norihanga, who's just been overtaken by Troy Corser. Corser has gone through into 3rd place, so he is making the move. He wants to hold on to that 2nd place and make it a Ducati Performance 1-2 in the title chase. Remember the man between the 2 Ducatis, Akira Yanagawa won Kawasaki their last World Superbike race at Sugo here just 2 years ago. And Norihanga, of course, has won the 2nd race for the past 2 years here at Sugo as well. So there's red-hot competition up front. Ducati versus Kawasaki versus Yamaha. And behind them, Akira Ryo, the man who was 2nd and 3rd in the 2 races here last year. Look at this. Look at Yanagawa catching up with and getting a draft there from the Ducati of Carl Fogarty as they come down past us along the finishing straight through the first turn. The long 180-degree first turn, and then up to the euphemistically called 3rd corner, 90 miles an hour through there. into third gear, down to the second for the hairpin, 55 miles an hour around here, and look at Troy Corser.
Corser's all over the back of Yanagao. He's desperately keen to get through there. He wants to try and follow Carl Fogarty through, keep that pace up. You can see Fogarty's quick in this section here now, the first third of the circuit, and Troy Corser wants that second place in the championship. Rumour has it that Carl Fogarty said he's not going to help him. He says he can get his own second place. I'm going to go out there and try and win the race, so we'll have to wait to see if that is going to be the case. But the fastest lap so far goes to Troy Corser. He's looking threatening, and also number 54 there's looking very quick.
And that, number 64 is Rio. Rio on the Suzuki, threatening Hager. Hager in turn threatening. And the little gap behind them, and in front of the rest, Frankie Keeley's there. He's in 6th place, ahead of Edwards, Kitagawa, Yoshikawa, Serizawa, and Shinichi Ito, the veteran 32-year-old on the Lucky Strike Honda. And look at this at the front, they're climbing all over one another. And right now, it seems to me they're bunching up behind Akira Yanagawa. But look how fast that Kawasaki is, Steve, up the hill.
Well, he actually, Corser then got blocked in that corner. It seemed like Yanagawa just shut off a little bit hard there, stopped in the middle of the corner, and that screwed it up a bit for Troy Corser, so he lost some drive out of that corner. But 64 there, Rio was all over the back of Corser, and Corser desperately needs to get past Yanagawa. He does look quicker. Carl Fogarty seems to be losing time down the straight. You're right, the Kawasaki seems to be running good, but from here now,
it's very quick.
It's very fast, and Fogarty is very quick in this section of the course.
Yes, he opens up that gap again through the turns as they head towards Rainbow, and Rainbow, of course, takes them out, pouring the cars onto over 170 miles per hour down this back straight. It's a sort of double apex. Here they go through the second apex, then they're off into the countryside, downhill. And at this point, Fogarty has a good lead. Now, we know from his Superpole lap that Corser's very fast through the chicane. So if he gets himself smooth and faster, look at this, Rio's gone underneath Norihaga. Rio goes through into 4th place. He is definitely posing a threat. The man who qualified in 3rd place on his Suzuki at 1:30.089.
And Edwards is going back. Colin Edwards is going back because Kitagawa has now passed Colin Edwards, so that's not good news for him if he wants to get 2nd place in this championship. At the moment, as things stand, this will stretch the advantage, the 4-point advantage that Troy Corser has over Colin Edwards.
Especially as Corser has sneaked back past Rio. I beg your pardon, he didn't get past by Rio in the first place, did he? He's got Rio for company. Rio's got past Hager. There's a gap between Hager and Keeley as Rio makes a move now on Troy Corser. Tries to get up the inside. Bit of draft up there. Not enough room, not enough speed. And through that 180-degree long first turn, Corser is still in there. And Akira Yanagawa is the man. Look at that. Rio set the fastest lap there, 1:30.4. We know that the only man who's dipped under 1:30 so far is Troy Corser with that blistering Superpole of 1:29.9. And of course, the man who's challenging for 500cc Grand Prix honours this year, Repsol Honda's Taddy Okada. He set a 1:29.5 when he won the 4-stroke only race here at Sugo at the end of last season.
The man that's actually sat on pole position for the South African Grand Prix this weekend. Anyway, let's get back to this one. Fogarty seems to have stabilised that advantage at the moment. It's 0.7 of a second. I'd have said it was fractionally more than that. Maybe not. 0.7 of a second. Rio goes through. Rio is through past Troy Corser. That's not good news for Troy Corser.
Rio now can challenge Akira Yanagawa, his namesake. The two Akiras together now. Yanagawa 2nd, Rio 3rd. Rio knows he can finish on the podium once again this year. He obviously would like to win it. So he's pushing hard on his factory Suzuki. Yanagawa's got company. These races...
Suzuki, ride the winds of change.
Fogarty leads, the man who was stretching, smiling, yawning, giving us a thumbs up on the starting grid, looking happy, relaxed and sleepy. He certainly isn't now. Those ice blue eyes are wide awake, and the man from Blackburn is at the front. Look at this, the last 3 gaps between Keeley and Hager, it's shrunk now to 0.6 of a second, and it looks closer to me as they come out of the chicane and gas it up the hill until they're into 6th gear and doing over 160 miles an hour across the hilltop.
And he is definitely stretching that advantage now, no doubt about it, visibly looking very, very good. 15 laps remaining of this 25-lap race. 27 riders out here at the moment. At the moment, it looks like they're all still running. And we look down there. Goddard's not having a good run at all. He's just in front of Fujiwara. And
19th place for Peter Goddard, 20th place for Katsuaki Fujiwara. And Fujiwara did have a crash, a big get-off on Friday, coming out of that chicane, in fact, when he hurt his feet and his back and needed painkillers when he went out for qualifying on Friday afternoon. Frankie Keeley, though you might not believe it, he had a get-off exit in that chicane as well, and he banged his head, as the 35-year-old Italian is rather prone to do, but didn't seem to do him too much harm. And talking of people banging their heads, that man, number 4, just about to lose second place, but not quite, on the Team Green machine, Akira Yanagawa. He is still suffering from double vision a little through left-handers, i.e. right there. It's quite remarkable how well he's doing, because remember, he concussed himself so badly during warm-up at the A1 ring that he couldn't make the race. He puts the blame for for his problems on that huge crash he survived at Laguna Seca last year, and that he's been having a bit of head bother ever since, but it doesn't seem to have slowed him down any, Steve.
No, it doesn't. In fact, he hasn't won a race, unfortunately, this year, but been very, very consistent.
And currently, very close to winning.
Currently sitting there in 5th place in the championship. Very little he can do about that, even if he wins or loses here today. I don't think he'll move anywhere in the championship points table. And number 64, Rio, has a look at the inside as they come off the back straight into the long, long right-hander, still going down the hill through the left-hander here, known as third corner in 3rd gear, short straight before they come around the fairly tightish left-hander into 2nd gear, squirting up towards the S's here now. This is where Keeley crashed on the exit of this in the first qualifying session, but he's still coming through. Keeley still lapping reasonably quickly at the front there. Not as fast as Fogarty, though. He's the only man in the 130s. No, he's not. Rio's also in the 130.9s there. So Fogarty leads this race. Carl Fogarty, perhaps we can get all the Eurosport viewers to write in or ring up and get him a vote for the BBC Sports Personality of the Year. And Rio does have another look down the inside, but Carl Fogarty, in my opinion, this year has been the of the year, taking his another World Championship, and the higher we can get him in that list, the better it will be for motorcycling in the UK.
Akira Yanagawa, Akira Rio tied together in look at Rio. He's taking all sorts of different lines in his attempts to peer around the Kawasaki. He looks up the inside, surely gets him this time. Magnificent move, bravely stuffs the Suzuki up the inside, and Akira can't have thought he'd left enough room for Rio to go through there, but he had.
Not only did he stuff it up the inside, he did a nice little block pass, stopped in the middle of the corner, and then fired that Suzuki out there, which gave him a huge advantage coming up over the top of the hill. So 64 Rio, he was looking threatening the whole time, but he has now made that move into 2nd place now. Will he make any inroads into that lead? That 1.394 seconds that Carl Fogarty has. Keeley 6th, we look down, Edwards 9th now. Colin Edwards dropped back again.
Wataru Yoshikawa, who was very fast throughout qualifying, then had a relatively poor Super Bowl time, has passed Edwards. So Colin just not quite hanging in there in the goodbye race, really, for the flagship RC45 that Honda has run for so many years in World Superbikes. They're moving on to the VTR 1000 twin next year, and Edwards and Slight are the men who are going to develop it, but it doesn't look as if Colin is going to go out with the sort of bang he wanted to. Now then, Akira Rio with a clear track in front of him, Steve. Is he going to make a move on Fogarty?
Well, I think he will start lapping pretty quick, but we'll soon tell on our monitor if that is the case. But he's pulled away a lot, hasn't he, from Yanagawa in that?
I think we can tell on the screen. That gap between him and Fogarty is not what it was a lap ago between Yanagawa and Fogarty. I think Rio is closing, and Foggy's going to have his work cut out here. Look at the speed at which Rio is going now. It's electrifying. He's really close down on the back of Fogarty and the Ducati. Fogarty gets a booming ascent, just pulls a little bit back, a couple of bike lengths as he goes up the hill, but just wait until they come across the top here. They go past, bang, and the advantage is down to 0.4 seconds, and that's been a fastest race lap at the moment, 1:30.21 for that man Akira Rio. Rio suddenly has just stormed into 2nd place, flattened the lap record for not the lap record, but the fastest lap for this race, and he's tailgating Fogarty right now.
Yeah, will Carl Fogarty want to get involved with a loony local? We'll wait and see. I don't think he will. he wanted to win this race, but I don't think he'll get into a fairing, banging match now. 64 looking for that second work Suzuki ride for next year, won't he? Almost certainly. And you'd have to say he deserves it, I would have thought, because Fujiwara is still languishing down there, 23 seconds behind the leader, back in about 20th spot. Rio would be desperately keen, I would have said, to get on that Suzuki, the factory Suzuki, and do all the rounds next season. A number of Suzuki riders keen to do that, not only from Japan but from all over the world. And Fujiwara really hasn't lived up to the standards we should have expected.
And behind them, that battle for 5th place, Haga, 4th place, sorry, Haga, Corsa.
Goddard's out.
Goddard's retired the Aprilia. Now, Goddard's not been happy with the Aprilia because apparently some of his accidents this year, and there's Goddard out, some of his accidents this year have been caused by mechanical problems. He's not been terribly happy with the Aprilia, which was tested very successfully, we hear, at Mugello by Chris Walker recently. But Chrissy Walker, incidentally, also has Irv Kanemoto chasing him to go into 500 Grand Prix. So which way will the talented young Englishman jump? Well, look at the talented young Japanese. He's jumping to the right-hand side underneath Carl Fogarty into the 180-degree first turn. He takes the lead. Will Foggy want to respond? Can he respond?
Yeah, I would say Carl now will just sit behind Rio, check what's going out and see what the risks are of re-passing him if that's the case, unless he has run into a few tyre problems. His lap times have dropped a little bit, not dramatically a little bit, but he is on the 17-inch rear, which is generally the more comfortable tyre to run with, but it's not always got the endurance factor that the 16.5 has.
Well, Fogarty went into the 131s for the first time on that lap, Steve. Yanagawa is 1.4 seconds adrift of him now, as you can see. Norihaga, 4 seconds behind the leader. Keeley, 4.5 seconds behind the leader, as Kitagawa. Corsa slipping back again. Now, Corsa has finally admitted that the shoulder he injured in Albacete bothered him for right the way through until the A1 ring, but he's been okay for the last 4 races. Having said that, he's not making any progress at all. He's dropped back now behind Kitagawa, Suzuki, and he's got Waturo Yoshikawa for company. And Serizawa's also passed on another Kawasaki. He's passed Colin Edwards. Edwards back to 10th place. And he's got Shinichiro Ito on the Lucky Strike Honda beginning to bother him now. So Colin Edwards not having a comfortable ride at all. And look at the lead that this man Rio's pulled out. So Rio goes to the front, 10 laps to go. He does a 131.1 second lap. Fogarty on a 131.7 is slowing down markedly in second place. And Yanagawa is the fast man on a 131 dead. So I think that Fogarty could come under threat from the Kawasaki now.
This is where Fogarty's fast on the circuit, through the S's there, up towards this right-hander rainbow corner.
Look at the battle going on here. Haga anxiously glancing over his left shoulder because he can see Killy right behind him. Killy's really closed down on Haga on that lap, but none of them are doing fast times. It's amazing. The times have drifted back into the 132s, back there with Haga, Killy, Corsa and Yoshikawa. There is Kitagawa, winner last year of the first race. One race in the All Japan Superbike Championship at each round. He won both visits to Sugo here, but at the moment he's being thoroughly outpaced by his teammate Akira Rio, who is at the front. Look at that! Past Haga goes Keeley. So Frankie Keeley, a great performance by him from that relatively poor starting position. There is Kitagawa, who's come through past him into 5th place, into 4th place, ahead of Keeley, Haga, Corsa, Serizawa and Colin Edwards. So there's a tremendous scrap going on. Shinichi Ito is into that as well. A tremendous scrap going on. And here we are on board with Norihaga, who's just lost that position to the Flying Italian.
Now, I would think at this moment Colin Edwards can...
Oh, and Troy Corsa retaliates, comes back past Norihaga. Does that mean that 16.5-inch wheel is coming good? But of course Norihaga's running that one as well. And behind him he's got number 58, Serizawa for company. So Serizawa, Tamaki Serizawa, beginning to make a move on his Kawasaki. And all the time, Noriaga's spending a lot of time looking over his shoulder, Steve.
Yeah, he is. And I was just about to say, can Colin Edwards yet see Troy Corser? Because that's the person he's chasing after. And I would say, yes, almost certainly he can. He will be able to see Corser in the distance in front of him. So that's going to be his target. The target's on the back of Troy Corser. He does need to finish in front of him.
And that's Killy who's got in. Has got one of the Yamahas for close company now. That's number 56, Wataru Yoshikawa. And he's the man who, with Kenichi Kitagawa, heads the All Japan Superbike Championship at the moment. He's the man who's attempting to find a way past Frankie Keeley.
Yeah, Keeley starting from the third row of the grid. It wasn't a very good super pole for him, but he's certainly making ground up now. Fogarty, Rio in the 130s. He's the only guy in the 130s. Carl Fogarty's dropped his pace down a little bit. But this is the battle now with Keeley down in 5th position.
Keeley, Corsa, Ceruza. At the moment, for some reason, our lap chart doesn't seem to feature the man who's actually right there behind Frankie Keeley. And that's number 56, Wataru Yoshikawa on the Yamaha. Here we are on board, chasing Aaron Slight.
We're on board with Lavia now.
We're on board with Lavia, as Gregorio Lavia just into the points now as he scraps with the second of the Castrol Hondas. But here's Keeley, number 7. Yoshikawa trying to find a way past him, and behind them we've got Norihaga. And I think the distance is about 1.8 seconds between Troy Corser there, number 11, and Colin Edwards, the man on the Castrol Honda who'd like to beat him. Yoshikawa looking for a way past that Alstara Corona Suzuki. The way to do it is to get very brave on the inside going into that chicane, which is exactly what Akira Rio did to Carl Fogarty when he took the lead.
Yeah, it's about front-end confidence, making sure that you're happy with that front end, that front tyre as you're squeezing the brake on going in there now. And we see number 56 there, Yoshikawa, down the inside of Keeley. The Yamaha's not so slow there, was it? They might be complaining about the Yamaha, but it managed to get in the slipstream of that Suzuki and just slingshot himself past in the braking area now. Let's see what goes on. Can he get going a little bit? And for some reason he's I don't know whether he's not got his sensor on that comes up on the timing screen, but he's not on our screen at all, is he? Number 56 Yoshikawa.
He's missing all the time, but we know he's in there. We can see he's in there. He keeps flying past us in there, and he's now got his sights set on the man with whom he's dead level at the top of the All Japan Superbike Championship Series, Keiichi Kitagawa. There's Rio leading, 2nd place Fogarty, 3rd place Akira Yanagawa, 4th place Keiichi Kitagawa's Suzuki, 5th place Wataru Yoshikawa's Yamaha, 6th, and behind him 7th place Pier Francesco Keeley's Alstara Corona Suzuki, and the gap between Fogarty and Yanagawa is now beginning to end again. Fogarty's got a second wind, but it is a second astern of that flying Suzuki of Akira Rio. So the front 4 have just got themselves slightly settled and spread.
Haga's going backwards big style now. He's 10 seconds back. I don't know what's happened to Haga.
And Colin Edwards is right with him.
Yeah, so Haga's got some problems with that Yamaha.
Screaming past us now. Rio leads for Suzuki. 2nd place Fogarty Ducati. 3rd place Yanagawa Kawasaki. 4th place Kitagawa Suzuki. 5th place Yoshikawa Yamaha. 7th place Keeley Suzuki. 8th Corsa Ducati. 9th Serizawa. 10th Norihaga. 11th right behind him, right in his slipstream, Colin Edwards. The gap between Edwards and Corsa is 1.8 seconds, so it's remaining fairly consistent.
This is looking good though for Rio at the moment. He's looking very smooth. I have to say he's not looking like a wild card loony, local loony as we might call them, but he's looking very good. Finished 2nd in the first race here last year. This week, what's up with Fogarty? He's got a cramp maybe in his right foot, hanging his foot off the side of that bike, so Fogarty's not too comfortable. He said he's not very comfortable in Japan, but there's no reason for that. It's not very good for the aerodynamics, hanging your foot out there, but there's obviously some sort of discomfort for the number 1, the world champion Carl Fogarty at the moment in 2nd place.
Well, Akira Rio, he's earned his spurs, hasn't he? Because last year he was 2nd and then third on the podium in both races. And here, really, the way he leads it, I've never seen anyone more confident on that right-hand entry into the chicane, Steve.
On Dunlops will be very happy with this. So it's Dunlop leads from Fogarty on the Michelins. Yanagawa also on Dunlop, so it's just looking good for them. And we've said before how the Japanese Dunlops, and now he's starting to get a bit too cocky, isn't he? Number 64, very confident. Front wheel paws the air. 5 laps remaining of this 25-lap race.
Kitagawa is there in 4th place, but look at that gap to him, between him and Yoshikawa, and then look at this lot. There's Kili, there's Troy Corser. Behind Corser, Serizawa on the surviving of the Japanese factory Kawasaki's, as opposed to the Harold Eckel Kawasaki's. And incidentally, the second Eckel Kawasaki isn't in the points. Lavia's 16th, 1/10 of a second behind Aaron Slight in 15th place. And ahead of them, they've got Suji Miura, who's proved a bit of a disappointment after some good qualifying times on the second of the Japanese-based Yamahas. In front of him, he's got Tamada. Tamada on the team Kotaki RSC Honda, and in front of him is Shinichi Ito's Lucky Strike Honda. But look at these guys, Kili, Corsa and Serizawa. This is the battle for 7th place. Kili, having made good progress during the earlier laps, is now back on 1:32.1 second laps, because he dropped into the 1:30s. It was looking very quick early on.
Yeah, Serizawa has a strange style as well. He really does get himself off that bike, really hanging his body right off the inside there now. So
that could be something to do with his off-road background, Steve.
Could easily be, yeah. And I like his favourite food. He said he likes meat. Probably red meat at the moment.
His favourite riders, Freddie Spencer, Kevin Schwartz and Ricky Johnson, the great American supercrosser. And in fact, being an off-roader for so long, look at him trying to keep in the slipstream and heading for the inside of Troy Corser. Yes, and he sticks it up there. Classic motocross style. And that is 27-year-old Tamaki Serizawa riding for Kawasaki, the Kawasaki racing team. And he comes from Saitama. And besides meat, he likes Japanese tea, and he's finished as high as 8th in the All Japan Superbike Championship. That was in 1997, 10th in 1998. A consistent performer. Look at him weaving the back end, Akira Yanagawa style of that factory Kawasaki. He's now between the Europeans, shall we say, the regular World Superbike contenders. Killian in front of him, former world champion Troy Corser behind him. This is the battle for 7th place. And these wild card guys, they're certainly not crashers, Steve. They're looking very, very good form, and they're obviously enjoying themselves around Sugo. They know this track so very well.
And I think now the man following Troy Corser is Colin Edwards. So Edwards has got his sights set on the back of that number 11. And no question about it. So this is the battle for 2nd place. So it is Rio from Fogarty, from Yanagawa, from Kitagawa.
Kili, Corser, Serizawa, Edwards can now see Troy Corser looming large. Going to the first turn, and Akira Yanagawa beginning to close in on Colin Edwards. Akira-san thinking perhaps he could get that 2nd place off the reigning world champion. A 2-second gap now between Fogarty and Akira Rio. Rio has made the break at the front. He is surely going to be the winner of this race, but who's going to be in 2nd place? There we have Kitagawa ahead of Yoshikawa, and look at that, Serizawa. I thought he might have been lining up as he went off up the hill. He looked as if he was looking for the inside line on Frankie Kili. He's got it, he's gone through. So Serizawa now is in that 7th place, Kili 8th, Corser 9th, Edwards in 10th place. But I think Edwards is exactly 2 seconds behind Troy Corser. It seems to me with 3 laps to go, Steve, it's asking a lot for him to close down that gap.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Unless Troy Corser has any problems, and he shouldn't do. I think he went for the tyre that should have hung in there, but he obviously has not been that happy with it. And we look down, the times are steadily dropping off now, but Corser is the slowest, everyone else in the 31. So does Troy Corser have some problems? Troy Corser lapping probably, 2 slower, in fact, than Colin Edwards.
So Edwards could just make it count. Look at this, talking about making it count. Can Yanagawa make his apparent Dunlop-clad Kawasaki advantage count? Now, he loses just a bike length or so as they go off up the hill initially, but I think by the time they come across the top, can he get close enough to Carl Fogarty to grab some draft? I don't think he can. He needs to be a lot closer than that to make the advantage tell going into turn one. Oh, look at him, back wheel steering that, reversing into that first turn, and it takes him close up to the Ducati as he goes through the first turn, dives down into the left-hander, down again into the hairpin curve. Second gear stuff here, just down below 60 miles per hour, and then accelerating through the chicane up to 100 miles an hour in the short burst down to the third gear rainbow corner, which has two halves to it. You go through the sharper apex here, and then the longer curve that is a critical one in slingshotting you out on to the back straight. And watch Yanagawa curve his way out of there, following Fogarty's footsteps, try and grab a bit of slipstream from him as they go tearing down, and then sit up and charge down through the gears into Horse's back corner, which is a second gear right-hander. A quick blip into third gear, the SP in there and the SP out there. All that is in third gear. It's all at 80 miles per hour, and then they hammer up to 115, 120 before curving through the long right-hand last corner into the chicane. Yanagawa, I don't know whether he needs to be just a bike length or so closer all the time, Steve, to really launch a realistic challenge. Don't know whether he can make that stick. At the moment, the gap between Corser and Edwards has shrunk now to about 1.7 seconds. It'll be interesting to see what happens as they come past his next lap. Fogarty 3 seconds behind Rio. Yanagawa for company into their final lap. Akira's got to get closer than that if he can make a push into second place. Fogarty looking strong, and Troy Corser still there with Edwards now 1.6 seconds behind him. I don't think the gap is going to close fast enough, and although he's still lapping in the 132s, I think Troy Corser can hang on. Of course, it's not all over then.
What is the trouble with Aaron Slight? Look at that. Aaron is right the way down there now.
Levere's got into 15th place. Takeda is now 16th. Takeda is a former winner here, Yuichi Takeda. He was a 1996 first race winner, but he's not showing that sort of form this time around.
Yanagawa now is looking very threatening as they come down the fastest part of the course, 170 miles an hour. Yanagawa has a look on the inside. His best possible place to opportunity to pass will be on the last corner, which is the long braking right-hander into the chicane. If he can just get close enough as they come out of this corner here and down the hill, if he can get in that braking area. Now they're exiting this corner here, and I'm not sure if he is close enough now, as they... No, he's not. So it looks to me like Carl Fogarty's got it all sorted out for this second place. But what a result for Rio, really. He got second last year in the first race, third in the second race, but now he's going to better it with a win.
Impressive stuff, and he wheelies towards the finish line. Akira Rio wins it for Suzuki. Carl Fogarty just hangs on there to second place, well calculated ahead of Akira Yanagawa, third for Kawasaki, and fourth place Kinigawa hangs on in front of his great All Japan rival Yoshikawa. Serizawa's Kawasaki sixth, Kili seventh by a whisker ahead of Troy Corser, Colin Edwards eighth, Tamada ninth, Shinichi Ito in 10th place. Norihaga has slithered all the way back to 11th in front of the Yamaha of Sugimura. Gregorio Levere's next up ahead of Yuichi Takeda. Aaron Slight just hanging on there in front of Aizitsu's Kawasaki. Amazing stuff. Giovanni Bussi comes into 20th place, guesting on the Bertocchi Kawasaki. A brave ride for him, and the 27-year-old Italian's first outing. And there is number 64, Akira Rio. I don't think he's interested in... I think he's so thrilled with himself, Steve, he's not bothered about wheeling. He just keeps shaking that fist. He must be well pleased. And I love those petals strong. It looks as if someone's assaulted him with a custard pie on that wonderful helmet. So Rio wins it with the two custard pies splattered on his helmet. Fogarty second, Yanagawa third, Kitagawa's Suzuki, Yoshikawa's Yamaha, Serizawa's Kawasaki, Kili's Suzuki, Corser's Ducati. Well, the only people not featuring in that front eight, Steve, Hondas. There are no Hondas there. Everybody else, in fact, there they are. 9th for Edwards, 10th for Tamada, 11th for Ito, 12th Norihaga, 13th Sugimura, 14th Levere, and Yuichi Takeda, 1996 first race winner, takes the last point in 15th place. Aaron Slight just misses out in 16th. Isuzu 17th, Kamea, and the rest. Wow, well, look at that. The Japanese flag has been handed, as indeed it well deservedly ought to be, to Akira Rio. He is the winner of the first race here at Sugo in Japan, the last round of the 1999 World Superbike Series. The championship positions then: Carl Fogarty 478, Troy Corser 359. He now has a 5-point advantage on Colin Edwards, so it's still open to the end. 4th Aaron Slight, 5th Akira Yanagawa, 6th Frankie Keeley, 7th a disappointing Nori Haga, 8th place Glorio Levere. A sporting thumbs up to this guy Akira Rio from Frankie Keeley as they came in towards the pit lane. Frankie pleased to see Suzuki win, even if it wasn't him. Of course, he's had 2 race wins this season. In the latter end of the season, he won in Austria, he won the last race at Hockenheim. So Suzuki have gone 2 races in a row, Steve. Yep. That's impressive. Akira Rio wins Suzuki's 2nd successive World Superbike race, and Suzuki really are on a hot streak. It's good to see, because they're proving that there's not a great deal wrong with that GSXR 750, and they should be really in the frame in the year 2000. Rio wins. Akira Rio. Now, if Suzuki have any sense, do you think they'd be saying to him, listen, Sunshine, do you fancy Europe next year?
Well, they should be, shouldn't they? Because it has to be said, Fujiwara, who finished right down there in about 18th spot, really just hasn't come up with the goods this year, and this man has, and I think almost certainly they should really be looking at him. Now, the man we're going to have to wait for in the next race, I think, is poor old Takeshi, isn't it, who led that for half a lap. What a disappointment for him, and he's obviously fired up, going to be fired up for the second race. Well, he is, especially as retiring from racing at the age of 32 and going on to HRC as a test and development rider for the Honda Racing Corporation in the year 2000. And wouldn't that have just been a glorious way to go out to be leading and possibly winning a World Superbike race for Kawasaki, the first one in 2 years since Akira Yanagawa won here for them in 1997. So that battle's still on for second place, so only 5-point advantage for Troy Corser. I think he'll be disappointed with that, having been run so strong at the beginning there in 3rd spot, that he couldn't take off round this 2.32 mile circuit. The winner of the first race, Suzuki's Akira Rio, ahead of reigning world champion Carl Fogarty, who edged across the line a couple of bike lengths in front of Kawasaki's Akira Yanagawa. We know that tyre problems did beset several of the people involved in the race. Of course, Fogarty complained of the back tyre, so did Akira Yanagawa. Front tyre problems were responsible for Aaron Slight's disappointing 16th place. A very unexpected and uncharacteristic 16th place for Aaron Slight on the Castrol Honda with front tyre problems. And as Nori Haga says about Sugo, if you haven't got confidence in the front tyre, in where you can plant the front wheel, you're always in trouble. To feel confident, so he goes into this race still 5 points behind Ducati's Troy Corser in 3rd place in the championship. So that battle for 2nd place in the World Championship is still alive. It's going to be either Troy Corser and Ducati 1-2, or Castrol Honda can take the number 2 plate into the year 2000 on the new VTR 1000cc twin. That gives you some idea of the crest as the riders come up over the start and finish line here. Now we're on board with Haga, who actually has a front and rear camera on board. Levere also on the Kawasaki has a rear-facing camera. There he is, just checking the handlebars are tight, wobbling around, coming up towards the start. Now quite a slope downhill here. And in the first race we saw that the number 60 machine of Takeshi got a flying start, and he led all the way around till he got to the end of the first lap, and unfortunately I think he touched a valve and broke a valve in the engine, and I dare say that was probably through being slightly over enthusiastic, downshifting a little bit early and just touching a valve, and that all went sadly very wrong for him. But I'm sure he's fired up for this one now, and we wait to see as they line up. There'll be a man at the back of the grid with the green flag who will walk off in a minute, and then we'll get, there he goes at the back of the grid, and the engines are revving all the way up near to the rev limiters, and off they go, and a flying start there for the Suzuki in the middle of the front row there. And
Akira Rio, if Rio gets to the front, they'll never catch him, Steve. Oh, and look at that, Rio just about edges out. He almost takes them all off in that 180-degree right-hander, but he's still there at the front. But did Takeshi? Takeshi goes through. One of the Yamahas has got through underneath him and almost forced him off. So a torrid first few laps. The Japanese white and wild cards are proving their red mist's worth already in the first few bends here at Sugo. What a wild start. And I thought that Shinyo Takeshi surely had it. The 32-year-old Kawasaki. No, in the end he got forced off virtually by Rio, hung on, and then one of the Yamahas has come through. Now, which Yamaha was that? Was it Waturo Yoshikawa or Takeshi Tujimura? One of them is at the front, unless of course it's our old pal Nori Haga, but I don't think those are the right leathers for Nori. And right now we've got in second place Rio, and then the two Kawasaki's third and fourth, and it was Haga. Amazingly enough, who else but Nori Haga could have elbowed his way through like that and almost stuck Shinya Takeshi onto the grass. And it was a pretty forceful pass. He really did ram him out ever so wide there. So Haga leads this race, and he won the second race in 97 and 98, Steve. Is this an omen?
Oh, I don't know. He only finished 12th in the first race, so I don't know what they've changed or anything else. Maybe they just put a different chip in Haga's head. Something's gone on. But anyway, he's off and flying. Now we look
down somewhere in amongst that pack, we've got Carl Fogarty aiming to actually surpass the record 478 points that he scored during the 1995 championship winning series.
Fogarty down in 6th place, Corsa down in 9th place, and where is Edwards? Edwards down in about 15th spot.
Yeah, Edwards and Slight way downfield, Slight you would expect of such a terrible starting position. Look at that view from Nori Haga of Akira Rio, number 64, on that factory Suzuki, the man who won race 1. So Yamaha's out for victory on the R7. Nori Haga obviously feeling a bit more confident in the front end this time out.
No, he's obviously made a few changes to the bike here now. We're going to be the first people to know what his rear tyre's up to with that shot that we can see there. We'll see the smoke coming from it soon, I think, if he carries on at this pace. And we see the speed of the Yamaha down there. It doesn't seem to be lacking too much, and Rio is homing in behind him. Rio looks very good on the brakes, and he really does get that Suzuki, the Dunlop-clad Suzuki, stacked over as they're coming through now to complete this second lap.
So it's at the moment Haga, Rio, Yanagawa, Takeshi, Fogarty, Kitigawa, Keeley, Corsa, Serizawa, Shiniki, Ito. And at the moment Troy Corsa, he may not have made that blinding a start, but he's well away from Colin Edwards. So that right now, the way things stand, he should be secure in that second place in the championship, which would make it, of course, a Ducati Performance 1-2. And although Troy hasn't completely admitted it yet, I think it looks like he's safely tied up with Ducati next year anyway. At the moment, 3.3 of a second, the gap between first and second. Takeshi's 2.3 seconds off the leader, so he's 2 seconds further back already.
Rio is so quick through this first part of the course. He just slides that machine in there. He uses the rear brake operated by a hand lever on this number 64 Suzuki, and he really is extremely fast through these turns.
The rest of them absolutely stacked together, Steve. So those front two have broken away at the front, leaving a monumental scrap behind, and Shinyo Takeshi tried to make up for that engine blow-up he suffered in race 1, is holding a solid third place there on that factory Kawasaki before he splits for the Honda Racing Corporation as a test rider in the year 2000. So this is his first and last attempt to show his worth here, the bespectacled man on the number 60 machine in World Superbikes. And there he is in third place. Akira Yanagawa behind him, and Fogarty looking menacing again, even though he gives the impression when being interviewed that he doesn't really care that much for putting on a show.
First time I've ever heard him not that bothered about not winning, so obviously as far as Carl's concerned, the season is over with, and I think a lot of these riders will be keen to get home, back to Europe. It's not the easiest place to work and live from while you're out here at this race, and the season is virtually over, apart from the number 11 and number 5 machines, because that is where the battle is. And at the moment,
7th place for Troy Corsa, 13th place for Colin Edwards. So Corsa looking the favourite to hold on to that second place at the moment. But there are the two leaders off into the right-hander, and here's the rest of the pack following, with overtaking manoeuvres being attempted into the first turn, because that's one of the very few places round this circuit where you can really genuinely have a go at your opponent. Takeda, the man who's just outside the bunch. Yuichi Takeda, who won here in 1996, won the first race. Slight in 17th, Lavia 18th.
Goddard, 21st position, not having a good weekend. Having broken down in the first race and
broke down in the first race and not having such a good ride this time. Peter Goddard on the Aprilia. Down the straight there. And this is Carl Fogarty looking for a way past Akira Yanagawa. Killy's in there, just behind Troy Corser in 8th place. And at the front, Norihaga, who, when asked if he feared any of the Japanese wildcard riders before this weekend, said, none of them, I fear nobody. He certainly didn't, the way that he elbowed the luckless Takisha almost into the rubble on the second turn, coming out of the first turn into the second.
I have to say, I'm quite surprised he's managed to hang on so fast, but I'm looking at his lap times and he's lapping as quick as anybody out there now. 30.6, the fastest lap in the first race was by Rio at a 30.2. So, and Rio now is getting himself in a position on the inside there. Looks to be nothing in these bikes, performance-wise, but this part of the course, Rio does seem to home in tremendously, especially up into the S's here. So fastest lap again by Rio, 1:30.5, 3/10 slower than he did in race 1. Temperatures are up though, track temperatures are up. That generally doesn't bode well for going faster. Sometimes it depends on your tyre compounds as to how it's going to go, but generally the engines don't perform as well once the temperature starts getting up higher.
Norihaga, Steve, is lapping very much in touch, just 2 or 3 tenths of a second outside the fastest time he'll manage during qualifying. It's got to be impressive.
Haga, of course, still holds the lap record here in this. No, he doesn't, because in the World Superbikes he does it at 1:30.02, but that time was beaten by Okada, wasn't it, in the international race
that took place at the end of last season.
When he dropped into the 29s. But as far as World Superbikes are concerned, which they were riding the same bikes, nevertheless, it's Haga here from last year at 1:30.02.
When he's snaking around in that way that we love to watch, and you fear for the safety of our onboard cameras on, Steve. He certainly is. Winding that R7 up to the maximum. He's very sharp through the corners. Look at the way he gets away out of that chicane. So quick. He's like a rabbit when he gets off up the hill to start with. And Takeshi is making a great job there in third place of getting himself away from these pursuers. Shinya Takeshi making third place his own at the moment. Wouldn't be that something for him if he went out of his brief international career with Kawasaki with a rostrum placing here at Sugo. I have a feeling that Akira Yanagawa is just holding the rest of them up slightly. Fogarty's just done his fastest lap, 1:31.1. I think he might go quicker if he got past Yanagawa. There's 3 of them queued up behind Akira right now. Fogarty, Keiichi Kitagawa, who was a winner of the first race here last year, and Shinichi Ito, the veteran former 500cc Grand Prix rider, is having a good race on the Lucky Strike Honda after having such a good time earlier on today. Fascinating duel between the two, the European-based Japanese, who complains that that's Norihaga, complaining that there's too many flights, too great a distances when he's racing in Europe, and the Japanese-based Akira Rio. And look at that gaggle of people swarming all over the back of Akira Yanagawa. You ought to remember that Yanagawa's still got double vision problems on left-handers, so keep him away from
him. Number 81.
And down is number 81. That's one of the Japanese wildcard boys.
Kamiya.
And that's Kamiya. Kamiya's gone down on his Suzuki.
Oh, and he's looks like he's injured his right arm or something, is he? Holding that. He's certainly winded himself.
Yeah, not looking too comfortable. Kamiya then, he bails out of what was 19th place in
2 bikes down there. There's another bike down.
Fujiwara, so he might have taken somebody else with him, or he might have been taken out himself. At the front, this great battle between the Yamaha and the Suzuki, and the contrast in style, Steve. There's a bit of the James Whittam about Akira Rio, the way he hangs himself off that Suzuki.
Yeah, and I dare say James Whittam is probably watching this because he wants to be back out there doing it. We saw him at Donington Park at the last round of the British Superbike Championship with his great big metal frame on, holding his hips all together, that he sadly damaged it the German round of the World Championships, and talk of him possibly coming back into the UK British Championships. Whatever, we want to see him back.
We do, and all the best to you, Jamie, if you're listening to us now. Happy New Year. Hope you're fitting well by the time the year 2000 comes around. The yellow flag's still out in the background there as the mess from the Kamea accident is cleaned up. And here we have, that gap is definitely just slightly shrinking between Haga in the lead and Takeshi in third place, who's putting on quite a rush with that green Kawasaki. And of course, the Japanese riders usually dominate here at Sugo. It's the last person, I can't even remember the last person to win who wasn't Japanese. Let's have a quick look. The last person who wasn't a Jap to win was Carl Fogarty, Race 2, 1995. Corsa won Race 1. Fogarty won Race 2, and since then it's been Japanese riders all the way. Nori Haga, of course, being one of them.
In the first race, in the top 15, there were 10 Japanese riders. Just goes to show the strength and depth of the national series and the bikes as well. Let's be fair that when the championship probably comes to Germany, comes to the UK, comes to Spain or wherever, there's a lot of wild card riders around, but generally not on the type of equipment that these riders here are on. Most of them on factory machines all the way down. And if you look in the top 15 of that series, just about all of those wild card riders, admittedly there was Haga and Yanagawa who are regular riders in it, but most of the other guys, the local riders, all on full factory bikes.
There was an even split in the top 10, wasn't there, Steve, between the World Superbike regulars and the Japanese wild cards. Now Fogarty has lost out. Fogarty has dropped back into the clutches of Troy Corsa because that man Keiichi Kitagawa, number 59 there, is now tailgating Akira Yanagawa and looking for a way through. So it doesn't look as if we're going to see a rush from Fogarty. In fact, he's got Corsa and... no, he's got Ito and Pier Francesco Killy for company, because Troy Corsa is behind Killy, and at the moment Edwards has got Serizawa, Yoshikawa and Tsujimura to deal with before he can even reach Troy Corsa. And he's lying well, actually he's only lying 1.1 seconds behind Troy, but with all those guys in between him and Troy, that must look like a lot of work. And there they are, streaming off up the hill as these guys come pouring down off the summit. Akira Yanagawa, Keiichi Kitagawa, the battle for fourth place. Kawasaki versus Suzuki. If Akira can ride like this when his vision's still suspect in left-handers, God only knows what he'd be riding like if he was 100% fit.
I think he's just telling people that so they don't try and pass him on the left-handers.
Yeah, because he's
scare them away. So
yeah, because he'll be able to see two of them, so he won't know which of them's the real one. Yanagawa hanging on there to the fourth place in. He set his fastest lap on the last lap, 1:30.9. Fastest lap time, 1:31 dead. So at least he's managing to get something working right on the Castrol Honda, but he's a long way behind these fellas. And look at this, Kitagawa doing an Akira Rio and looking all ways round to try and find a way past Yanagawa into fourth place. This is a 25-lap, 60-mile race, remember, that these guys are on. We've just got about 5 laps down so far. Fastest lap, that early lap of Akira Rio's, 1:30.519. He hasn't been able to match that since. The times have dropped again, Steve, into the 1:31s. The only man in the 1:30 bracket on that lap was Shinichi Ito, the old warhorse on the Lucky Strike Honda, 1:30.6. And at the front, Akira Rio beginning to put the pressure on Nori Haga again. But Haga knows where these guys come from, Steve. He's raced against them. He won the All Japan Superbike Championship in 1997, and he knows that they're probably just like him, full of spirit and wild boys when they get on the track. Yeah, well, nobody has more spirit than this man. I just really don't know what they've done to that Yamaha between the two races. It can't just be a good start, because he's consistently quicker than he was in the first race, and he dropped back dramatically. Now, whether he's gone for, or just gambled to go for a relatively soft tyre that gives him the pace early on and see if he can wobble around at the front and do some blocking, or they've changed a few things, but whatever they've done, it's worked, because at the moment he's fighting well right at the front here, and it's great views, isn't it, back to number 64, the winner of the first race. So Nori Haga, the Haga lout, immensely popular wherever he rides, got a huge following in the UK. I beg your pardon, that man Akira Rio, he picks up, as Robert Owen goes out on the Patogi Kawasaki, he picks up that bike, drops it and picks it up so fast, I thought for a moment he'd lost it. And here they come, the battle for the lead, and look at the draft that Rio's got. He just cruised past and nothing that Norihaga could do about it, Steve.
Now, I think he got a good drive out of that last corner, out of the chicane there, and managed to use the slipstream of the Yamaha and just powered his way past, or had that position, the inside position, as they went into turn 1. And just
now we could use the
through
front,
there.
the
Yeah,
front
it's lovely, isn't it? Yeah, it's really nice of Haga. I don't know if he's the man that switches it around. I suspect it's probably our director, but nevertheless, Haga is doing a great job for us at the moment.
But what he's got to do for himself is keep somewhere near Rio. That's asking a lot, isn't it? Here we go, out onto the back straight and up into rapidly into 6th gear, over 170 miles an hour, head down and go for it, boys, until the heads pop up and they're hard on the brakes at the end of that straight going into Horse's back corner, which is a 2nd gear right-hander. Fourth place still being held by Akira Yanagawa, and really there's not much in this. You don't want to be making too many mistakes like that.
Rio just spun it up there and had to back it off a fraction, and that will have inspired Haga. He will have seen that, and he's immediately closed right in there. He sees blood, I think, at the moment. So Rio was definitely spinning up that rear tyre of the Suzuki, and again you see that big black line as the suspension dips down and it starts spinning up and then it lets go, but he didn't lose too much time, he didn't back it off at all here. Now Haga's got to take advantage of that slipstreaming situation, but he didn't make a great deal of ground up, so it does seem like the Suzuki has the power, has the horsepower at the moment. Haga has been complaining about that through turn 1 and 2, now through the left-hander here. Now Haga not losing an inch of ground on the corners, but he does seem to lose a little bit on the punch out of the corners.
And that is critical, isn't it, round here, to keep that little bit of speed going as you come out of the corner. It's got to be fairly instant. Look at Takeshi. Takeshi is very gradually edging in on these guys. Well, they went across the line. It was 1.4 second gap between Rio and Takeshi in 3rd place. And then 2 second gap to Yanagawa from the leader, 2.1 to Kitagawa, 2.6 to Ito. And these guys, Steve, the Japanese missiles, the front 5, the front 6, have left Fogarty 4.9 seconds adrift of the leader.
I can see it ending in tears for Rio. He's really starting to spin this machine up a lot now.
So perhaps he's feeling the pressure. We thought he was far and away the fastest in the first race, and I think Frankie Keely's got past his long-standing effervescent rival Carl Fogarty. I think has lost 7th place to Frankie Keely.
And Ito there on the Honda's doing a great job for Honda at the moment, isn't he there?
He is. He's really pressing hard. He's the red machine on the back of that group, 32-year-old Shinichi Ito. Got as high as 5th in the 500cc Grand Prix for Honda in 1995. Winner of the All Japan Superbike Championship last year, so he's the reigning All Japan Superbike champion. Also won the Suzuka 8-hour race the last 2 years.
Keely past Fogarty?
He has. Serizawa, Yoshikawa, Corsa going backwards into that mob, and that means that Corsa is exactly half a second in front of Colin Edwards with Tsujimura's Yamaha between them. Now that situation could yet get interesting, but the problem for Colin Edwards is he's got to overturn a deficit of 5 points.
And we've got a retirement there being passed, someone retiring. I didn't quite catch the number of that bike, but he's out of the race.
Yanagawa has lost that 4th place, I think, to Takeshi. Yes, Takeshi is into 3rd place. Yanagawa 4th, Kitagawa and Ito. They're the mob-handed Japanese wildcards, and all in amongst this lot, of course, we have got Yanagawa and Norihaga holding up the honour of the Japanese Riders Abroad Association. And I suppose, Steve, as long as Norihaga can see the amount of movement that Rio's getting out of those Dunlops, he's got to live in hope, hasn't he?
Yeah, very much so. Both probably on very similar tyres. I beg your pardon, because Haga's Michelin this year, isn't he? I kept thinking he's Dunlop, so it is. It's Dunlop leads from the Michelins.
I wonder, Haga tried the 16.5-inch rear in race 1. We don't know what he went for in race 2.
No, apparently it's a brand new tyre, different profile, 16.5 to what they've been using before, but I can only make or surmise that he's changed it, because things have changed quite dramatically for him from the first race. Corsa also used that new rear tyre, but things are not going very well for him at all at the moment. He is definitely dropping off, 31.4. lap times are getting slower and slower now, and this is a huge battle here for the third position. Final rostrum position here is really being hammered out.
It is, isn't it? Shinyo Takeshi is the man who's got it at the moment, but Yanagawa, Kitagawa and Shinichi Ito are all in there to try and do something about it. Kitagawa, of course, a joint leader of the All Japan Superbike Championship right now, so he's going to be, he's one of the guys who might take over the mantle of All Japan Superbike Champ from the man at the back of that quartet, Shinichi Ito, number 65. Yanagawa goes inside. Oh, and Takeshi's gone from third to fifth in one move. Kitagawa taking advantage. He left a barn door open there.
Yeah, but Yanagawa went wide. Oh, he's managed to hold it. He really went in there hot, ran extremely wide out in the dirty part of the circuit, but no one was able to capitalise on it. He went ever so wide, but he's managed to stay in there at the moment. So if the flag was to come out now, that would be 2 rostrums for Yanagawa, but he's got his work cut out to keep that third place, because they're all over him like a rash at the moment, and Ito is the man that's on the charge with the Honda.
Ito has gone past Takeshi as well. Poor boy's gone from third to sixth, so his glasses will definitely be steaming up now with the effort of seeing where he's going and to see what he can do about these guys. So it's Ryo, Haga, Yanagawa, Kitagawa, Ito, Takeshi and Keeley, and it looked to me as if Ito was making another. Oh, and
I think that's where Ito's gone.
I think he went in 2, and I was going to say he's making a move. Oh, and look where his bike is. And Shinichi Ito, veteran of the 500 Grand Prix.
Well, they needn't bother repairing that RC45. They might as well just put that one in the skip, I think.
And he's okay, but he seemed to have lost his place to Takeshi coming past us, Steve, and then he tried to get back under him going into the first turn, or even back outside him going into the first turn, or hold him off, and just went in far too. Wow, that was a big mess up.
That's sorted out that little scrap, hasn't it?
Yes, good.
It's really split that group up.
Because that means that Takeshi suddenly lost a lot of ground and is on his own again. And Yanagawa's got that third place. Kitagawa's got to chase him. And Kitagawa's teammate Ryo is still at the front with Norihaga in pursuit. And Carl Fogarty, he's got Yoshikawa for company with Serizawa next up. Then Corsa still in front of Tsujimura and Colin Edwards. Corsa seems to be able to hold Edwards off, although the gap's down to 0.3 of a second now. As they come pouring over the top of the hill to complete another lap. 10 laps to go, 15 laps completed. Yanagawa once again looking like he might get on the grid. He was looking to use some harder tyres. He felt that was the only way they were going to stand a chance of lasting in the heat. So the next 10 laps are going to be crucial to decide for us and for him what choice of tyre he made and whether it was the right one. At the moment things are looking pretty good for him, Steve.
Edwards directly behind Corsa now, so very little in it. This is where the battle is, but at the moment...
Yes, Tsujimura has fallen behind Colin Edwards. Edwards has pushed through into 12th place right behind Troy Corsa. But of course he's not only got to get past Corsa, he's got to make good points on him still.
Yeah, and he won't do, will he, down there as they are at the moment, because once they get down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th, it's just going down at 1 point at a time. So yeah, that's the situation at the moment. But at the moment, it's still Ryo leading.
Japanese riders versus 2. And they're the 2 guys on the Suzukis, one in the front of the pack, one at the back.
At the moment, you know, Yanagawa's the quickest guy on the circuit. He's still in the 130s, only just, but he was quicker than anyone else out on the track that last lap. So if he went for those harder tyres, it seems like it's paying off at the moment. We're on board with Haga now over the start and finish straight, around 160 miles an hour, down through the gears into third gear as they pip into this one and running out wide to the left-hand side, cutting back to the apex again now, still in third gear all the way through here, holding it in third gear until they come down to this next left-hander where they pop it down into second gear.
Colin Edwards has zapped Troy Corsa on that lap with a 1:30.9 lap. He's lapping, he lapped on that lap 1.1 second faster than Corsa, and he's ripped past into 11th place. Is there anything he can do about the guys in front of him? It begins to get interesting, Steve. If he can do anything about Serizawa's Kawasaki and Yoshikawa and the Yamaha, the guys in front of him, Mind you, that's asking a lot, because he's 3 seconds behind Yoshikawa. Yoshikawa is the joint leader of the All Japan Superbike Championship at the moment. And that was Yanagawa going for the right-hand side. Does he come up there? Yes, a brave move. He pushes through inside Norihaga. I think he might have made the right selection of tyres, Steve. It could be they're getting better as the race goes on.
Well, it certainly looks good at the moment. The bike's not moving around as much as we've seen some of the others. So maybe he's just opted to go for that harder compound Dunlop tyre just to see if he can hang in at the end there. Now he's keeping a nice tight line. He knows full well that Norihaga will be up the inside like a rat up a drain pipe if he gets the chance.
Oh, wonderful views of that Kawasaki there as it hangs on to second place and then burns off up the hill into 6th gear at 170 plus across the ridge, down the other side, and behind them, look at this. It's all, and that's Kitagawa's gone through. Kitagawa's made his move, and I think that Hagesan's beginning to lose some traction, Steve. He's beginning to have some problems perhaps with those Michelins, because he's now got 3 Dunlop-clad bikes in front of him. Rio leads for Suzuki. 2nd place, Yanagawa's Kawasaki, and 3rd place, suddenly the danger man, the man who won both the All Japan Superbike Championship visits to Sugo earlier in the year, Kitagawa. He is in 3rd place.
Course has got problems, I think. He's dropping back, isn't he? Because Tamada's now passed him, so at the moment Edwards is has one machine in between. I think Edwards needs about 3 or 4 guys in between him and Troy Corser, and then it's going to start getting very serious as the points.
It could get interesting.
And Yanagawa
goes through inside Akira Rio. Yes! Great move. Would we or would we not like to see this beautiful, smiling little man win his first race for Kawasaki and Kawasaki's first World Superbike race since he did it here at Sugo in 1997. This could be the time it's going to happen. 1997, Akira Yanagawa won the first race here. Can he win the second one 2 years later? He leads. I think the danger man, Steve, is Keiichi Kitagawa, the man who's presently in 3rd place. Having said that, any of these guys are dangerous.
Drive, though, he's getting out of there. He really has got some grip on that Kawasaki at the moment. He's just putting it down and it's just pulling it and driving away.
Edwards presently in 10th place. Corser goes sweeping past us in 12th place. So Edwards has got to try and make ground up. Serewaza, Yoshikawa just ahead of him. Those are the guys he can realistically count. And all the time, Carl Fogarty is in 7th place, 0.2 of a second behind Pier Francesco Schilly Alstara Corona Suzuki. And he in turn just 0.2 of a second behind Shinyo Takeshi, who's hanging into 5th place.
7 laps remaining, and let's see if number 4, Akira Yanagawa, can hang on to this lead. There's no question about it. 41 there, Haga on the Yamaha. He's starting to drop off the back of this pack. I think he went for the slightly softer... and there's someone in the background there who happens to be Takeshi up on the curves and really getting that bike moving around. But at the moment, I want to be careful what I say here. I don't want to give commentators blight to Akira Yanagawa, but he is looking very good at the moment. The bike seems to be working, the tyres are working, and he's running good, and we would dearly like to see him take a first win for this year.
And if Colin Edwards, it's asking a lot, but if Colin Edwards could catch and pass Carl Fogarty, he'd get that 2nd place in the championship, the way things are at the moment, and if Troy Corser stays in 12th place. Having said that, Corser has got Tsujimura right behind him, 1/10 of a second behind him. He's also got Itsutsu's Kawasaki for company, so things are definitely still red hot over that 2nd place in the championship. If Colin Edwards can keep going forward, he's going to do himself a power of good. What's happening here? And it's Fogarty. Fogarty goes underneath Frankie Killy. Killy responds, but there's not a gap there for him to get through. And Colin Edwards is in that group. He's right behind those 2 Kawasaki's. What he needs to be able to do is get in front of those Kawasaki's. Serizawa and Takeshi are there. Killy and Fogarty have seen off Yoshikawa. They've seen off Takeshi. They're beginning to make a move. This is getting very, very interesting. Carl Fogarty's sort of wakened up. Suddenly he's in 5th place ahead of Killy. This is the battle. And behind them, you can see Yoshikawa's Yamaha behind him. You've got Takeshi, Serizawa, and then Colin Edwards. Here is Edwards, number 5, at the back of this bunch. He's the man desperate to make progress because he can yet see himself getting that 2nd place in the championship. We could see it on the grid, Steve. You said, look at the tension in those eyes when he was on the grid. There was no smiling for the camera. He was just completely focused.
Yeah, well, he knows what his task is, and it's just to go as fast as he possibly can and just pick off as many people as he can, and he is lapping slightly quicker. He's in the very low 131s, and so he's 2 or 3 tenths quicker generally than all the guys in front of him.
That was a 131.09 he did on the last lap. That was appreciably quicker than anybody else in the race, except Yanagawa and Rio, who has done 130.9s. So Colin Edwards at the moment, he's on a streak, but he's got to try and get past those Kawasaki's, and then he'll have to do something about the gap in front of them, which may be just asking too much. Yanagawa leads 20 laps, complete 5 laps to go. Fogarty 5th, Keeley 6th, Yoshikawa 7th, Takeshi 8th place, Serizawa, the former motocrosser, in 9th place, and 10th place Colin Edwards. Corser back to 13th. That also makes a difference. That means that Colin Edwards hasn't got as much ground to make up. Corser back to 13th place will score just 3 points if he stays there. So 8th place. 8th place is what Colin Edwards needs at the moment, Steve. And that would mean getting past Yoshikawa, which is not impossible.
I could hear the old mathematical brain working there.
It's a very poor one.
It was more than just the pencil scratching. I'm sure I heard some cogs and things twirling around in your bonds.
Don't be unkind to this, and it took 2 snatches at GCE all-level mathematics before it got through it. It's doing its best. And I think it may be right, but we'll wait and see. There's Fogarty, Keeley. Here's the battle. Just for a moment, we glimpsed the 2 Kawasaki's there. Takeshi, Serizawa, and Colin Edwards right there, breathing down their collective necks. And all the time, talking about breathing down the necks, look at the, like you were saying, Steve, he springs a bike and a half's length coming out of that chicane.
Just rear grip, rear tyre grip at the moment. I hope he doesn't go and burn it up, but at the moment he's definitely got the drive, and again, lapping in the low 131s, the fastest.
130 flat, 130.03 for Rio, 130.03 for Kitagawa. And Troy Corser is still where he was. Edwards has split the Kawasaki's as they go past us. He's got Pat Takeshi. He's got Serizawa just in front of him. Well, they should have fun afterwards. They can talk about their motocrossing careers, as they were both great motocrossers as kids, and now they're road race stars. That's Serizawa riding number 58. He's the man between Colin Edwards and second place in the championship series. Can Colin do anything about it? This is getting very, very interesting. Fascinating stuff going on.
And it's not getting any easier at the moment for Yanagawa. No doubt about it, because 64 there, Rio, is really looking good at the moment. He's lapped the last lap fractionally quicker than Akira Yanagawa, but at the moment Yanagawa still holds that advantage.
Yanagawa leads, Rio and Kitagawa right with him. Serizawa and Edwards. Edwards is 7/10 of a second behind Serizawa. Tamaki Serizawa, the 27-year-old Japanese former motocross rider. He's got to get past him to get second place in the championship. And these 2 guys have got to get past Akira Yanagawa to deny him. And look at Fogarty, what is he on? He's got done a 130.88 now. He's got Norihaga in his sights. Edwards still there, 9th place. Takeshi 10th, Tamada 11th.
Now this is interesting. Slight can play a part in this now, because Saren Slight is right behind Troy Corser, and he can actually assist Colin Edwards in getting that second place in the championship. He just needs to get past Troy Corser and then really hot it up. 3 laps remaining, Jack. You're going to have to get your pencil out again.
It's a 10th of a second between Corser and Slight. And look at this. Talk about a 10th of a second. Yanagawa. Oh, Yanagawa hanging on at the front in front of Akira Rio and Keiichi Kitagawa. 2 Suzukis for company. There's nothing wrong with these fuel-injected Suzukis. Nothing much wrong with that carbureted Kawasaki either. It holds the lead. It's quick coming out of the turn, Steve. It's getting the grip. It has the power initially getting out of those bends. Akira's just got to hold his line surely going into the turns. That's where it's going to get really risky. We know how strong Rio is on the brakes, swooping into places like that chicane. That's going to be a desperately difficult spot for Akira Yanagawa to defend as he goes into it, especially if it's like this on the last lap. But also coming over here, he's got to stay away so that they don't get a good draft coming over the top of the hill, because that is another place Rio is very, very dangerous, but he's 0.27 of a second down as he goes into the penultimate lap. 2 laps to go here. Hager's fourth, Fogarty closing on him in 5th place, 1.5 seconds behind him.
Slight past Corsa.
Slight past Corsa, which means I've got to get my pen out again. So Steve, just for a moment, give me a few moments while my head...
You carry on and get your pencil out and work out this point situation, but it's very, very close at the moment, because right behind Corsa now is Izutsu, also right on his back wheel. Corsa's going slower and slower all the time, so I think he's going to get past again. At the moment, it's looking good for Colin Edwards, I have to say, but we're going to let your pencil do the work. Back at the front still, number 4, Akira Yanagawa leads by about 1.5 bike lengths, nothing in it whatsoever. Right behind him, number 64, the winner of round 1 here today, or the first race here today, Rio, and there's just nothing in it at the front. It does seem to me that Yanagawa gets the drive coming out the corners. Maybe he's not so confident in his front tyre, but he's really getting the drive out of the corners.
At the moment, Steve, we have a dead level tie between Colin Edwards and Troy Corsa for second place in the championship, in the World Superbike Championship 1999. Tell me, does that therefore, is the tiebreaker the greater number of wins?
Absolutely, it would go to Colin Edwards.
Colin Edwards 5 wins against Troy Corsa's 3. So if Edwards stays right where he is and Corsa stays right where he is, which is in 9th place and 14th places respectively, Colin has done enough to grab that second place. But has Akira Yanagawa done enough to win this race into the final lap? The magnificent 28-year-old Akira Yanagawa in front of Akira Rio and Keiichi Kitagawa, holding off the men who've been racing here all through the year, of course. 2 visits they've had to Sugo in the All Japan Superbike Championship. Kitagawa, the man in 3rd place, is leading that championship at the moment, jointly with one of the Yamahas, Yoshikawa's Yamaha. Yoshikawa presently is in 6th place. He's passed Frankie Keeley. Keeley's been pushed back to 7th in front of Serizawa and Colin Edwards, but at the front, this is where all eyes are right now. Look at Akira Yanagawa. Would we like him to win this? Well, I personally would. He's just such a lovely little guy, and he hasn't won for Kawasaki since here 2 years ago. Steve, he's hanging on strongly on the brakes.
He's got in there really hot again. Can he keep a tight line? And he does. So now they go into SP in, SP out in a minute after that. It's going to be the final run down to that chicane. There's no question about it. That's where it's all going to be. If Kira Yanagawa can just get his front wheel in there first, he can certainly come out quicker. He's got the drive coming out of it. So this is it. Now I think he's got it. He's got enough distance here now. He holds a tight line. Akira Yanagawa is going to take it, I'm sure, as long as he keeps the bike upright coming out of here. He gets the drive out of it, and he's down, and he's got the drive out of there. Akira Yanagawa, I think, is going to take his first win of the year.
His first win in 2 years. His first win since Sugo 1997 goes to Akira Yanagawa, and Kawasaki's first win in 2 years as well. What a cracking way to end the season. Akira Yanagawa does it. He goes across the line ahead of Akira Rio and Keiichi Kitagawa, the 2 Suzukis. Nori Haga just holds on to 4th place ahead of Carl Fogarty. Yoshikawa's Yamaha next up. Frankie Keeley, Tamaki Serizawa, Colin Edwards. And Colin Edwards has taken second place in the championship by the narrowest of margins in a tiebreaker with Troy Corsa. Corsa finishes in 14th place ahead of Izutsu. And look at this man, the man who Izutsu took over from briefly last year when he was injured. Akira Yanagawa, ladies and gentlemen, is back. And he's back as the race winner we know he always could be. Yes! Wonderful performance, great conclusion to the season for Harold Eccles' factory Kawasaki squad. The Japanese flag is held aloft again, not this time by the brilliant Akira Rio, who has finished second as he did in the first race last year. He's the man who has...
Oh, there was a faller, was there, on the last lap?
Oh, and did we have a faller on the last lap?
We did.
Who was it? It was Andy Mecklau, number 16, who's been having a disappointing ride. Andy Mecklau, the Austrian, he crashes on the last lap in the chicane. But none of the others will be bothered about that, because they don't fall down on their lap of honour. And this man, the most honourable lap of all, goes to him.
Edwards celebrating, he knows he's got second place in the championship. That's
he does.
Flag.
He's picked up the stars and straight from some adoring American fan somewhere around the track. So Colin Edwards, the second, will take that number 2 plate into the year 2000 on the VTR 1000cc Honda. So good news for Honda in the end, and good news indeed for Kawasaki. A tremendous second race here at Sugo. That really livened up the the closing performance of World Superbikes 99. Yanagawa, Rio, Kitagawa will be on the rostrum. Haga, Fogarty, Yoshikawa, Kili, and Tamaki Serizawa. Another Kawasaki there in 8th place. And let's not forget that Shinyo Takeshi, he ended up there in the top 10 in his, and there's 9th place Edwards, 10th Tamada, I beg your 11th Takeshi, 12th place Sujimura's Yamaha, 13th Aaron Slight. Isn't that incredible that Aaron Slight, right at the final move, he made it on Troy Corser. He put Troy Corser out of 2nd place in the championship and put his teammate Colin Edwards into it. He, of course, will take 4th place in the championship. Akira Yanagawa, our race winner, is 5th. Frankie Keeley, 6th. Nori Haga, 7th. And Gregorio Lavia in 8th place. Heading for the pit lane now. It'll be entertaining to hear what the guys have to say. Carl Fogarty then, he surpasses his record-breaking year of 1995, which yielded 478 points, 489 points for Fogarty, 361 for Edwards. He takes 2nd place by virtue of 2 extra race wins, so they really did matter in the end. Fujiwara 9th, Goreski, the absent Goreski, who hurt himself on a motocrosser, broke ribs and snapped a wrist. He's not here. He still holds on to his 10th place in the championship series. Lucky boy. And congratulations all round for Akira Yanagawa. Harold Eckel. Perfect, he says. It was perfect. Well done, Akira. They certainly got the tyres right 2nd time out. And that fine haircut we glimpsed on the right-hand side was Lenz, the PR man for Suzuki. There he is, just in the background. He was a victim of Peter Goddard's wild hair-cutting display in the paddock party in Hockenheim a few weeks ago. The hair's just about growing back. And Akira Yanagawa. Wow,
great ride. I think the person he wants to go and thank you, and I'll just say they put the hat on his head, the Dunlop hat, because that tyre, whatever they gave him, that rear tyre, that really did make a big, big difference there.
Yes, because usually he slides that back wheel a lot, and we didn't have any of that going on, did we, Steve? He looked really tight and neat and very quick, hooking up well out of the bends. He just looked really good all the way through. So Akira Yanagawa has won it. Akira Rio is in 2nd place, and the man who won the first race last year, this is Keiichi Kitagawa.
Keiichi, very good race.